This is the gift of being a human being. Is the ability to experience yourself as truth, as love, as compassion. So I'm just going to tell you what is the significance of this practice. I feel it is important to understand why we practice something like this. A practice is something you do before you experience it in real life. So you practice to drive a car before you become a driver for other people. In the same way, if you practice compassion in this way, you learn how to do it in real life without you having to think about it. It becomes a natural response. So it's not natural for us to want to feel pain. We tend to want to avoid pain. So if people are angry or frustrated, we don't want to be around them. We tend to try to distance ourselves from where there is pain and suffering. We don't want to go into it. Whereas with these practices, you learn how to take that suffering, transform it and give them love back so that they can also resolve their suffering. Because very few people in this world have somebody to support them, to give them the space to express what it is that's happening for them. Most people misunderstand that as anger, or you're upset, or you're irritated, or you're irresponsible. But it's because we tend to judge something before we've truly felt it from their perspective. Because when you really feel somebody's anger, you'll know that there's always fear underlying the anger. And underneath the fear, there's sadness. So in order to really understand that this person's not angry, they're just trying to protect themselves from the fear that they're feeling. And if they're really fearful, which may come out as anger, that even below that, they're scared of their own pain. They're scared of their own sadness, of the suffering they're feeling underneath this. So once we can truly connect with all of these layers inside of ourselves, that's why you start with yourself. You have to recognize your own anger, recognize that that's a protective layer in order for you to not feel the fear, which is protecting you from the sadness. So many levels, and it actually goes much deeper than that. That's just on a very basic level. But once you can access your own suffering and you can connect with that part of yourself in another person that may seem angry, you instantly cut out the anger, cut out the fear, and you take them into where's the pain. And you hold them. You support them. Which means for the first time, maybe in their lifetime, they may feel like somebody actually understands. Somebody's there to really listen to them. Not just from here. Not just, oh, what's wrong? How can I help? Really feeling their suffering, because they can recognize that you've been through something, that you recognize the suffering within yourself. Therefore, there's a resonance. There's an exchange of energy, and therefore they will never feel alone. Just because they know that they're not alone, but it's not just, oh, I'm going to suffer with you. You hold the space for them in the same way as an angry child or a child that's crying because something went wrong. You're not going to tell them off for doing that. You're going to hold them and say, I love you. So it's this holding, just holding them. And if we can learn to do this for each other, then many more people can learn how to do that for many more people. And eventually nobody will ever feel alone because they're all supported. But it has to start somewhere. So usually that's inside of yourself. And the more you do this practice, especially with the prostrations, is knowing that you don't have the power to heal anybody. But if you open yourself up and really feel what is happening inside, the healing comes and you can pass that on to somebody else as well. So this is the part of the practice. The practice is we need to practice this in order to be able to apply it in real life when that situation arrives. So you may also find the more you do this practice, the more angry people come into your life, because that's your real practice. That's the real practice of now you have to apply. It's not just about sitting in your home practicing compassion. Now you have to go out and you actually have to apply it as well. Because your own angers and your own fears will start coming up, and you will start attracting those people who are suffering with you on that level. And by healing them or by showing them compassion, you also heal a part of yourself. So it's always a two-way street. You can't be fully healed if you haven't done the same for somebody outside of you. So once you've done it for you, you pass it on, and therefore there's like a mirror image. And because you recognize yourself outside of yourself, it's like a completion, and that thing will never have to happen again because it's complete, it's done, it's wiped clean. The samskara, the pain, is gone. It doesn't mean you wouldn't be able to support somebody else if they go through it, but you wouldn't feel the same amount of pain at the same time. Then you just naturally be you, and they will feel it in any way because that information is already existing within your field, within your sphere. So they can feel that you know what it is that you're doing. Even if you just stay in silence, you don't even have to say a word. They'll feel the connection because they know you've been there.